What up, people? What's good? Salute, salute.
Yes, sir.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Salute to the tribe. We're hip hop and comics and hip hop. We're a niche channel. Reserved for the best is super dope. I do sell comics. Check me out on Instagram at 6th_element_comics. Yeah, because comic books are the sixth element of hip hop. What is up, y'all? Sixth element of hip hop. I'm your host, Reno Noir, and we got a special guest in the building today, my man from Black Heroes Club. What's good, homie?
What's good, my brother? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. My normal co-host Stu Dog is actually taking a tour of the Underground Railroad down in Georgia right now with his family.
Wow, all right, that's what's up.
It's a super dope dope tour, and hopefully he'll be bringing us some footage and whatnot of that when he comes.
Harriet Tubman, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. But today we got a cool topic. We're gonna talk about this documentary a little bit, and just chop it up, and we got a lot of cool DC action today because Saturday, guys, is DC Power Hour. So every Saturday we talk pretty much DC exclusively, just because the rest of the time we're always talking Marvel, and we feel like DC kind of gets overlooked on a lot of these shows. Maybe less now that DC sort of built themselves up a bit, but yeah, we definitely like to get in DC on Saturday. So that's the agenda. And for those who don't know about this documentary series, and y'all already know how YouTube does us, we're gonna try to show y'all footage, and hopefully they'll let us get away with it. Because listen, YouTube, if you're watching right now, and I know you are, we are not showing copywritten material exclusively. Generally it's muted, if not super low. We're talking over it, you know what I'm saying, the screen. So it's definitely commentary, not thievery. So let us be. All right, so Superpowered, the documentary. It's called Superpowered, the DC story. You got a chance to watch it, right, bro?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So
the first episode, not the last two, but the first episode, definitely.
That's yeah. This is we're definitely just gonna cover episode 1 today. It is a 3-parter, so we're definitely gonna chop up episode 1 today. And I definitely was able to get through 1 as well, and it was dope. It's a new series that explores the world of DC Comics and its superheroes, celebrating over 85 years of superhero storytelling. And the series will kind of take you on a journey through the rich history of DC Comics, from their first appearances of superheroes in comic books to their, popular adaptations now in movies and TV that we see them in. And the 3-part docu-series started July 20th is when it busted out on Max. Used to be HBO Max. Who knows why they're just called Max now, but hey, it's full of modern day interviews, but it's also definitely got a nice share of archival footage of people who are and were important to the DC universe, from screenwriters to artists, directors, actors, creators, and who explain why DC is so important to them and what it means to be a part of it. What'd you think of it just in general? Just in general, what are you thinking so far?
I really appreciated it because as a DC fan, sometimes we forget about some of the basic details. I found out, or I didn't find out, but I remembered the basic detail of the S on Superman's chest. Of course, we think about, Superman, but it means hope in Krypton. And those were like some of the small details that I really appreciated in this episode 1 that they touched on to enlighten us and bring us back into the history of what DC actually is.
Definitely. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. The history of the DC universe is a tale that has been being developed for decades, and it consists of iconic characters, legendary, godlike status. I mean, far in the future, these will be our Mount Olympus, people, deities that they probably are going to think we worshiped. But, monumental events, groundbreaking storytelling, from its humble beginnings to the current status as cultural phenomenon, movies and all of that. And the DC universe has shaped and influenced the world of comics, movies, TV, video games, you name it, social media, any kind of media, is DC is all over it. And this is called Superpowered, the DC story, focusing on sort of similar stuff like this in each of the episodes. Um, like you said, and I don't want to keep referring to you, man. And we kind of know each other off Instagram, but I know you as Black Heroes Club. What is your name, bro?
My name is Andre Christian. I'm the
Andre.
host of, or the creator of Black Heroes Club.
Original Origin, salute. Yeah,
Yeah,
man, it's
yes,
been a
sir.
minute since you came on. So yeah, and I wanted to ask you that, man, before I get too deep into this. I wanted to introduce you a little bit better than that. Tell me a little bit about Black Heroes Club.
Black
What
Heroes
inspired you to start it, all of that?
Yeah, Black Heroes Club is a basic club for introducing and reiterating the heroes that are Black in DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Image Comics, and indie authors. So we don't have a whole lot of representation. And I figured that this would be a great time to introduce that representation. There's more heroes than, Black Lightning or Static Shock. You have Icon Man, you have Hardware, you have Black Goliath, you have Vixen. These are characters that don't have a whole lot of. They have their origin stories, but they don't have a lot of representation in that
Right,
matter. And that's what I want to bring to light. To be fair, I'm a Batman fan. I love Batman. I love the Flash. So with creating a whole Black atmosphere is a little bit challenging for me because there's only so few.
there we go.
And everyone is welcome too. I don't want to just, not welcome. Oh, it's Black Heroes Club, so white people aren't welcome or
Right,
Hispanics aren't welcome. I also want to incorporate, like, for example, we remember the WB character Gear in Static Shock. Gear is a very important, prominent role in Black culture too, because he was Static's friend, not in the comics, but in the TV show.
right.
So I want to also introduce that. We have not Indians that have superheroes and that have superhero content that I want to embrace as well. So the page is more about diversity outside of the regular main characters. I post a little bit about Black Panther, but even Black Panther and Storm, they're mainstream, so everybody really
Mhm.
recognizes Black Panther and Storm, but they don't really know who Natasha Irons is. They don't
Right,
realize that Shaq actually did a movie about Steel, the comic DC character
yeah,
Steel, and because it didn't go into blockbuster status, it's forgotten about.
yeah,
But Steel is a Black superhero. We can go into it. We can go deep into it. Bumblebee, Vixen is a little bit more popular. Man, Natasha Irons is Steele's daughter. We can talk about Debris. We can talk about these indie authors like Tappy Jack, who created a superhero who has what's Reed Richards' superpower to like expand or like Plastic Man or you know
right,
these characters have been developed, but no one talks about them because they're overshadowed by these main characters. Like
yeah,
even in the Black Panther 2 movie, you we got to see a little hint of, Shuri, and Ironheart, and we got to see these young Black women developing into superheroes.
right,
So that's what Black Heroes Club is all about. It's about introducing and re-imaging, not re-imaging, but like reintroducing all these popular, unpopular Black superheroes and Black female superheroes.
hmm right. So to sort of clarify, the Black and Black Heroes Club does not refer to the members. It refers to the heroes that you're talking about. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's yeah, exactly right. So yeah, man, that's awesome, and that's what I sort of gravitated. I like that about your thing, man, and wanted to get to know your point of view a little better, and I'm glad that that you were able to come on today and chop it up with us. And I definitely want to talk more with you about that, and about the club and all of that, for sure. Have you on again when my co-host Stu is on, and we'll definitely get into that. Um, the story, sorry, with where was I at with the DC? It begins with the history of Detective Comics, right? And its founder Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson and Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster, which are the original creators of the first widely hailed superhero, the godfather of them all, Superman. And the first episode of this sort of focuses on the importance of the history of comic books and superheroes in general. Obviously, it's DC. But we do, and we can hear commentary about different aspects of the DC timeline from writers like, the legendary Grant Morrison, my favorite artist of all time, Jim Lee, and the current, the current CEO, James Gunn. And if I were to count every person who was in episode one alone, it would be at least 20 to 30 people that they really uh, bring to the surface, I guess. And that's really good because it gives you a full perspective on DC's history from all angles. Because there's definitely some different points of view in this episode. Some of the interviewed are from different aspects, different walks of life. So you really get a full and not only by hearing good things about it, but also by seeing archival footage, the company's successes and failures, and its importance to society. One of the biggest things, man, that I was, like you said, not introduced to, but reminded of, was the Bill Finger issue, man, with Batman and Bob Kane. I completely forgot Bob Kane like admitted this. He's not really the the creator of Batman as we know him. So we learn all about that in this episode, which was crazy. In the episodes that follow, we'll see one of the most important aspects of DC Universe, the so-called Big Three, consisting of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and these characters have become, the sort of the cornerstone of DC, and representing various ideals and archetypes. Um, I thought it was. Did you? What's her name? Wonder Girl, Nubia. Did
Nubia,
Yeah?
Nubia.
Did you see her as a black hero, a black character? She's
Yeah, so
Brazilian.
I actually cover Nubia on my page as well. Black Nubia is the twin sister of Wonder Woman, and her history, I didn't realize, had a long debuted history of who Nubia was, who her creator was. Please forgive me, I don't know exactly the names. I gotta make my notes, but
Mhm.
it's really cool to see a black superhero, like the first black female superhero, appear in DC Comics, and she's held to be like the Wonder Woman, she
Mhm.
is Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She even bested Wonder Woman, so like that was really, really fun to see.
Mhm. And I think her creator is a white woman too.
Yeah, that's something that I also wanted to mention that I didn't
Mhm.
realize. So with Batman in the episode or the documentary, I didn't realize. So in my mind, I'm thinking that Batman was created as Batman, but he's introduced in the detective series.
Right.
And I didn't know that. So like
Oh.
I think it's 27 that
Mhm.
that he's created. And I forgot the guy's name who created him actually, but it was like I think he's 19 years old and he
Bill
created
Finger.
Batman, yeah, to
Well,
show
first,
up
yeah,
Superman.
Bob Kane. Yeah, Bob Kane. Yeah, that. So what it was like, Bob Kane creates the idea of this Batman character, and like you just said, to sort of like combat, not combat, but like compare to Superman, like something that can sort of be the next big thing like Superman, was sort of his inspiration and why he created it. And that was dope. But what we learned is that there's another documentary, by the way. So, but Bob Kane, uh, Bruce Wayne, Bob Kane, he's known for creating Batman, blah blah blah. But this guy Bill Finger, um, actually creates, you know, Batman as we know him. The Bob Kane drawing was like he had red clothes on, he had literal wings of a bat. It was very different than the Batman we end up getting. That's all Bill Finger, the Penguin, the Joker, the Riddler,
Yes.
all
Yes.
you know what I'm saying. And in the years following his first appearance, like you say in Detective Comics number 27, May 30, 1939, Bob Kane became almost as famous as Batman. He
Mhm.
blew up, but Kane wasn't the only creator. And he, did not, that didn't come out until many years, like 30 years later, I think in the 60s. But yeah, he wasn't responsible for what makes the crime fighter memorable as far as his costume, his arsenal of cool gadgets, his secret identity. He didn't even create Gotham City. And all these,
Exactly.
and so, but all these creations belong to Bill Finger. And at the bottom of every Batman comic, it says Bob Kane, like by Bob Kane and all that. And so we learn that, or as a remind that, he actually I don't know, press conference or something, but he sort of just admitted it all. And we'll check that out in a second. I'll pull that part in the video up. But
And
all
if I can just
yeah,
make a
please,
quick comment. So
please.
I appreciate what they said about content creators back then. Content creators did not have a representation. They were either completely ignored or they had a, very small amount of credit given to them for creating these characters. So I really
Yep.
appreciate what now, in 2023, that creators can actually have a right to what they create. Because back in the, 40s, creators did not have a right to what they created,
Yeah.
and that's brought up in the documentary too.
Yep. And they definitely never got royalties or paid or anything like that. And down the road or
Exactly.
whatever for this. And like, all the stuff that we would consider to be standard practice today was unheard of back then. Um, trying to sort of sift through and find that little part where he literally admits it.
Yeah, that was a little fun part where like they make it into like a comic little view of it.
Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. All right, let me bust it out real quick. Bink. All
Yeah.
right, YouTube, don't get mad at me. Okay, we're gonna talk over it. Just gonna show what what they're saying here, guys. So here we go. So, you can see the what do you call it? The caption down there, the closed caption. And he's saying Bob Kane made a rare appearance, and here he says, Bill not only wrote the early stories, but he helped me innovate and create more than half of the villains. And all of the innovative characters in Batman. Most of the credit, most of it should go to Bill Finger. That's from the horse's mouth right there. Um, I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it is. I really do like the opening too, where they reference the Joker with the Christopher Nolan Joker, Heath Ledger Joker. I
Mm-hmm.
really love that, and how they brought in Robert Patterson,
Mm-hmm.
and
Patton.
he did a little interview too. So that was nice too.
Definitely, definitely. Cool to get all those perspectives and all these creations belonging to Bill Finger, whose identity remained as secret as Batman's. Like he
Exactly.
was kind of the hidden guy, and Finger made Batman what he is literally. I mean, like he had a hand in the creation of Robin. Obviously, like I said, Joker, Penguin, Two-Face. Nonetheless, Kane gets all the credit. He was like the first rock star. He was, before Stan Lee, he was the first comic rock star, really, Bob Kane. For the rest of Bill Finger's life, uh, and which was cut short. And for 15 years after his death, Kane did everything he could to suppress Finger's involvement, living a life of luxury, uh, literally like gotten rich from it. Got one of the first contracts ever in the industry where he got like paid for his creation and got residuals and all that Bill Finger died penniless and destitute.
Hmm.
That's crazy. And completely obscured. And the other documentary on Hulu in 2015 is based on the book Bill the Boy Wonder by Mark Tyler, and the documentary is called Batman and Bill. It's pretty dope. But this this superpowered documentary that we're talking about here reminded me of that documentary because it really touched on this. The most fascinating part of the documentary is the relationship between Kane and Finger, and how Kane, who was the sort of the showman, the outspoken guy, knocked the quiet and nerdish Finger into obscurity. Kane sort of paraded himself as a genius, but without Finger, Batman would not even have made it past the first issue because Bob Kane's like drawing was whack, bro. It was
Yeah.
whack. Didn't even have a mask. He was like a blonde dude and like a red shirt on with like literal bat wings. I mean, it was just horrible, dude. And Kane's tombstone insists that Bob Kane, Bruce Wayne, Batman are one and the same. It's on his tombstone. So, but now the jig is up. Kane took credit for everything about everything great about Batman, everything he did not create. But I don't think we should be so dismissive of him. Did Kane possess the marketing skill to make
Marketing
Batman a
skills.
success?
Yeah.
Because I think just Bill Finger alone wouldn't have never put out a Batman comic. So
Yeah.
you got to give him.
Every introvert needs his extrovert.
It's like Stan Lee and
Jack Kirby.
Right? So yeah, it's the same dynamic, similar anyway. But yeah, the Batman, Kane came up with the idea, sort of, but had very limited ability. He knew it, and he was inspired by the popularity of Superman, obviously, and we learned that in this documentary. 1939, Kane saw the opportunity to sort of replicate the success, which was genius. I don't take away from Bob Kane's, contribution, but and also he did, draw his inspiration from like Zorro. He said in the documentary the Leonardo da Vinci drawings with the bat wings and all of that. And there's a 1937 film called The Bat Whispers, or the Batman. Oh, and then he conceived of Batman based on that, but he didn't, like I said, man, he did not look like the Batman that we are familiar with today. He wore like a red jumpsuit. He had like a domino mask. He had the two rigid bat wings, the Leonardo inspired like literal wings with like wooden frame type things. Probably like a glider, I guess. Obviously, a far cry from the bat suit that we are familiar with. And a man wearing a bright red jumpsuit is exactly how not to be stealthy. Which they also talk about. That sort of segues me into their another cool thing is they talk about sidekicks and Robin.
Yes. The different amount of Robins that they had and the development of each character and what it took to, get Batman a sidekick that was reliable.
Yeah. It was very interesting. And how like he got flack, they got flack for putting Robin in like this bright red suit, and Batman would be in the, Robin would sort of draw the bullets of all the bad guys while Batman was stealthy in the shadows. And then they talk about this is kind of tongue in cheek. They talked about the child labor stuff. But then I found out, and this I had no idea about. This was news to me. During the comics code during the 50s, when the conservatives, when it got very parents were scared that comics were poisoning their children and all this, and there was the horror comics and all that, and so we got the comics code, which by the Comics Code Authority, the comic they created to sort of combat all of this bad publicity. And basically it said that we will keep out any satanic, violent, sexual, whatever material or whatever. And so that's what that sort of inspired that or what I'm talking about is this one guy that was scared of homosexuality and stuff like that, and that was his big. He was like going against that, and uh, basically accused Batman and Robin of being like a secret couple, and like
Yeah.
that was weird. I'd never heard about that. I never heard that. But apparently, like he put together photos and like got all these scenes of them in bed together, uh, working out and stuff like that. Which was that was news to me. I didn't know, and they put it all, I guess, in some booklet or whatever to you know, cast a bad name on comics.
Yes, and some religious organizations were really strong on hyping up the fact that comics were bad. With that being said, I do appreciate the like satanic, like them making a code to keep out satanic and like over sexual stuff.
Mm,
With that being said, comics were an escape from reality into fantasy.
yeah,
That's what comics are all about. It's the escape, just they're only what 20 to 40 pages long. So
yeah,
it's the escape from, man, I had a hard day at work to I can read about Superman or Batman solving a mystery or solving a crime
yeah,
and using their superpower. Well, Batman doesn't have any superpowers, but using their
mm,
powers for good.
right. And for
So
like
those
20 minutes, it's like a 20-minute book.
yeah.
Yeah,
But those churches had a really big, huge thing about that,
oh,
religious
yeah.
churches that were overly extreme or overly cautious. But I
Mhm,
do appreciate the code because, like, now that I'm looking back at some of my older comics, I do
mm,
realize, like, man, some of this stuff is really, really dark and really, really deep.
yeah,
It's fun, but it's really, really dark. Like, I'm a Black Lightning, huge Black Lightning fan, but
mhm,
some of the 70s comics that they have, they have gun involvement. They have people who are beating
yeah,
up women. They have domestic
mhm,
violence things that are going on. So these things were, you know, real life turned into fantasy, but these things were really, really going on back then.
definitely. Yeah, 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 that's true, man. That's a good point. That is a good point. Oh, oh, and Bill Finger. So this also blew me away. I thought that Bob Kane created Bruce Wayne, right? The name, it rhymes. It's got this, you know, sort of the B and the Ain, right? So Bob Kane, Bruce Wayne. I thought that was his deal. Bill Finger created that. He took the name Bruce from Robert the Bruce, which was a Scottish king, and you know, from medieval times. For his last name, Bill Finger wanted a name that suggested that he was part of the gentry. Um, he said, "I searched for a name that would suggest colonialism."
It's in the garage on the chair.
You good? He wanted a he said I searched for a name that would suggest colonialism. He said I tried Adams, Hancock, and then I thought of Mad Anthony Wayne. So very interesting where the name came from. Had no idea. Definitely thought it was just a Bob Kane, Bruce Wayne phonetic type deal, but the combination of Bruce's old medieval freedom fighter with the mad escapades of the Revolutionary War leader Anthony Wayne suited Batman's character. Um, a rich playboy by day, a knight, you know, a vigilante, you know, at night who fought injustice from the shadows. The Dark Knight, that whole concept, man, was all Bill Finger. And Finger's Batman, who possessed very unique attributes that distance him from Superman, right? So Superman was clearly influenced Kane, but by making him a detective, Finger made Batman a completely different character, abandoning Kane's desire to make Batman a superhero. You know, no superpowers, none of that. And this final touch by Finger is definitely inspired by the 1930s noir film The Bat Whispers, much like it had inspired Kane to conceive of the Batman. But Kane just didn't have the talent to incorporate these ideas successfully into Batman, or even recognize them in the first place. And he literally admitted that. Like he even said like that to that effect. He couldn't conceptualize like the character like Finger. But Batman, who has now appeared as the sort of polar opposite of Superman. I mean, that's sort of what he embodies, is the opposite of everything Superman is. Um, needed, Superman needing a suitable home that reflected his noir origins, or Batman. Unsurprisingly, Bill Finger, who created Batman's hometown, Gotham, he said, I originally was going to call Gotham City Civic City, was the original name. He said the Steranko History of Comics in there. He said, then I tried Capital City, then Coast City, which all sound very similar to Flash's place. But then he said, then I flipped through the New York City phone book and spotted the name Gotham Jewelers and said, that's it, Gotham City. We didn't call it New York because we wanted anybody in any city to identify with it. That was something that, they talk about Marvel doing later. But Bill Finger contributed so much to the creation of Batman and Gotham City that it was almost a completely different character to Kane's creation. So the question is like kind of like, how did Bob take all the credit and all the money? And the answer is just basically bravado, and Finger's lack of it. Basically, Finger was a introverted, quote
Yeah.
unquote nerd, a bookworm. Um,
Yeah, and that's also mentioned in the documentary too about how I forgot his name, forgive me, but when he would look at women, he would think like, how can I get that? Or, he would be so shy to go up and actually talk to them.
right.
And that really hit close to home. That was like a lot relatable because as a
Mm,
comic nerd, sometimes we feel like, how can we escape this fantasy world and actually go out and talk to real women? And that's
mm,
also mentioned in the documentary too, where Lois Lane is super obsessed with the Superman,
right.
and she has Clark Kent on her arm, and she's so obsessed with Superman that she doesn't even realize that, man, she's got Superman right here.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
so that is something that a lot of introverts and a lot of people who can't escape the fantasy world have to deal with is,
Mm,
talking to women and finding out, how to talk to people in general, and also defending yourself. Like a lot of these artists don't know how to defend themselves because they draw this beautiful portrait, but they don't know how to sell it. And then when this
mm,
guy comes in and says, "Hey, I can sell this for $40," and they keep 30, oh, they keep 38 and give you two. But
yeah.
you're appreciative because, hey, I wouldn't have been able to sell it without you.
Mm,
And that's how all these artists end up starving and hungry. They spend so much time writing and developing and spend so much time on their artwork. And these studios and producers are able to swoop in and take advantage of them.
mhm,
I'm gonna actually take this advice. I gotta work on crediting my sources a lot better on my page
yeah.
because sourcing is very important.
Mm,
Making sure that I highlight the artist is very important. Making sure that I highlight the creator is very important because these creators are going hungry off of $1 million projects. And
yeah.
how would it feel if I'm more of an extrovert, but how would it feel as an extrovert if I put so much time in the Black Heroes Club, somebody swoops in and is able to buy it from me for $1.50 and make millions off of it? How would
Yeah.
that feel?
That would just drive you mad. I mean, it's the same thing with the Sixth Element. I mean, this, it could happen, but
Yeah.
I think you make a good point, and it's also like rare to hear anybody, sort of talk about that aspect of it. But I kind of like your goal is to with Black Heroes Club. My goal with Sixth Element is to sort of take like hip hop heads, sort of, because that's kind of like my world. But I've always sort of like had this sort of connection to comics, and I always was interested. And even as a kid, like 12, 13 years old, I was definitely buying comics and stuff. Then I got my license and got into girls and got into what I was into, and just comics sort of always stayed in the back of my head. But never like I think I sold what I did have like when I was 18 to get my first apartment, like because I didn't care about them at all. And it was
Yeah.
much later, bro. Like, but for my whole life, during that whole time between then and 2018 or 19, when I finally get back into it and all this shit behind me, you see, starts to accumulate. Uh, during that time, 30 years or whatever it is, 20 years, I guess it would be. I would always go in comic shops when I seen them. I would always be interested. I was always walk in, always look around and just be like drooling but like always had that feeling of, man, there's no way I can get into this. Like there's no, where would I start? And like I want everything in here. Like I
Yeah.
can't just buy one thing.
Yeah.
Like what do I do? Like and it was very daunting, and that's why I never sort of pulled the trigger, never got into it. And then one day, like I said, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there, X-Men was doing House of X, Powers of X. Jonathan Hickman was doing House of X, Powers of X. And this YouTuber, shout out to Rob from Comics Explained, Rob Core, shout out to them. They his videos were so dope that it just pumped me up, and I was like, yo, this House of X, Powers of X like looks just as like mind-blowing, because X-Men was always my shit. And so something just made me do it, man. I just drove to the comic store and I bought like all 12 issues, 1 through 12. It was a mini series, and it just blew me away, bro. I was so into it. Immediately when I was done reading it, I'm like, okay, I need everything by this guy Jonathan Hickman. And I literally like went on eBay, started ordering everything by Hickman, and I started building short boxes full of comics, pretty much everything by Hickman. And I was in it to read. So then I started buying a bunch of graphic novels, and I got a big bookshelf full of those over here. And I was like not interested in collecting for like investment or any of that. I just like to read them. Like I really just genuinely liked comics. And then I got into like buying uh like dope covers, like Virgin variants and stuff like that, and like really cool art pieces, and I like got into that a little bit. Then I started getting into buying key issues, like, okay, this is the first appearance of this guy, or this is the
Yeah.
issue where this major event happens, shit like that. They call them key issues, and I start collecting those. And then got into the Funko Pops, then got into action figures, and now I probably collect all the 6 and 7 inch lines, Mayfex, Marvel Legends, GI Joe Classified, Star Wars Black Series, DC Multiverse, you name it. And I definitely just like went nuts. Like everything I own, my whole collection started from like 2019. And I got this idea for this channel because I knew that there are other hip hop fans. And the reason I know this is because most of the hip hop MCs and producers are comic nerds, bro. Method Man has
Yeah.
30,000 comics. Like
Yeah.
Method Man, RZA, all of them, man. Everybody is a big comic nerd. Pharoah Monch, who's been on this show and has a comic of his own. Like
Little Wayne too. Little Wayne
it
mentions in it all the time too.
bro, if you really wanted to, you could go and find out that most rappers have all mentioned something to do with a comic. It's just always been a part of hip hop. It's always been a part of the community, and it's been a part of the culture. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Now,
always,
now
like you
this.
said, escapism. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my bad. But just to illustrate what you're saying, we have to also remember back in the 40s and 60s, our parents, I'm not that old, but our parents would
Mhm.
frown against getting comics because they weren't real life.
Yeah,
They weren't real life. And as a black man working hard in Harlem City, you had to struggle for your 25 cents. And I'll be darned on if you're going to buy a 30-cent comic after I, worked for an hour or more than an hour, 8 hours for $1. No, you're not going to get a
right,
30-cent comic. But that's where it fits in with hip hop too, because hip hop was an escapism as well. And hip hop was it wasn't a fantasy world, it was the reality in spoken musical word,
right,
which I mean became a huge industry. But even the hip hop artists, um, they suffered with those who made their first hip hop albums and records and everything. These industries like Motown, they would buy up all this music and only give these artists pennies on the dollar.
right. Oh yeah,
You know, there's a history to it. There's a
And
huge history to it.
it's the parallels, bro. The parallels between hip hop history and comic history is insane. We've talked
Yeah.
about a lot on this show. That's sort of the inspiration behind it. But that's what I'm saying. Like I know there's a lot of people, because the fandom of hip hop is not, it doesn't recognize comics as being cool or accepted or okay to be into. Whereas, like I said, like that's weird and kind of funny, because all the artists of hip hop are big into comics, and they rap about them and everything, but for some reason it's not cool. It's nerdy. There's nothing cool about it, and it sort of like missed the fandom. And so
Yeah.
I wanted to do this channel to be like, nah, bro, wake up. Like, this is what it is. Like, this is what all your favorite songs are about. This is what your favorite MCs are into. Like, this is what it is. And I just wanted to sort of be like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, you can still
Yeah.
be cool and be into comics. Like, you don't have to be an introvert. You don't have to be a geek. You don't have to be a nerd. You can be, and we damn sure geek out and nerd out on this channel all the time. Like, I'm the biggest
Absolutely.
nerd it is, but at the same time, like, you know, I don't come from a background of not being able to talk to girls or not being able to stand up for myself or none of those things. That was never my world, but I totally get it. And there are other reasons. There's other shit that I relate to with
Yeah.
comics, you know what I'm saying? Beyond that, those things. So it's another example of how comics really can relate to everybody from all walks of life, from any background, no matter what you are. Definitely, race is irrelevant, gender is irrelevant, age is irrelevant. Um, there is a comic for everyone.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the Bob Kane thing. So Bob Kane loved the limelight. He's one of those guys that he loved that spotlight, just like Stan Lee did. Over Jack Kirby, and he'd greet fans with his fly suit on and dressed all, or he'd just have the Batman cowl on. You know what I'm saying? Or he wrote this overblown autobiography, and according to the documentary, passed off artists oil paintings of Batman as his own oil paintings. So like, just weird, bro. And but the real treachery began in the legal issues, the lawyer's office, when he makes that deal to get rich off all Bill Finger's work. Because DC Comics offered to publish the Batman comics, and this is all part from the Superpowered documentary episode 1. So Kane made sure that he was, the only one to show Batman off to the comic book publisher. Kane followed advice from his father, who told him, negotiated sole credit as the creator of Batman and a percentage of everything DC Comics licensed the character on. Lucrative deal formed the foundation of the $10 million fortune that Kane would accumulate over the course of his life, which was unheard of for a comic
Hmm.
book. Crazy money for that. And that's back then money too. So that's a lot
Yeah.
of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, that same deal relegated Bill Finger to obscurity. And while Kane drew the comics, he also took credit as the writer. Finger was nothing more than a ghostwriter. There's a historian named Arlen Schumer. He said that unfortunately the deal happened because Bob Kane had a lawyer father and Bill Finger was shy.
Yeah. And didn't have the money to back them.
Right. Didn't have the money, didn't have the wherewithal to even do it. And Bob Kane went in, and his father made sure that his name was on it. And that's how Bill Finger ended up getting shunted away from his co-creation. And that's why you see Bob Kane at the bottom of every comic. And like I said, man, I just took it for granted that Bob Kane, Bruce Wayne, that it was his creation just because the name was so similar. Finger had no idea how successful that this would become, and no one really did. And Kane could not keep up with the demand from DC Comics for new publications featuring Batman and all the Gotham characters and shit. And so other ghostwriters are soon employed, and Kane soon turned his attention to other avenues for the characters, such as Batman newspaper comic strips and shit like that. And so he really tried to like not need Finger at all because that would more solidify that it was him, and just dirty, man. And Kane turned Batman into a business by hiring writers and artists, but just like Finger, they too went unnoticed, uncredited. Kane kept all the accolades and all the credit, and Finger by now is just completely lost to history, even though he helped him create, the Joker, Scarecrow, Riddler, Penguin, Robin, and these are some of the most iconic villain, rogues gallery in all of comicdom, not just
Yeah.
Batman. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Meanwhile, the unscrupulous Bob Kane took sole credit for all of those villains and everything, and obviously made all the money and shit like that. It's sad, man. I hate when I hear these things. I really feel bad for um um why do I keep Jack Kirby? I keep forgetting his name. That's fucked up. I feel
Finger.
bad for Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bob Finger, Bill Finger too, but yeah, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko even, but
I wonder why they're making the documentary now. I wonder if it's like not a marketing scheme, but something that helps them to, I don't know. Like, I wonder why they're bringing it up now, and making a documentary series now.
it's a
I
very
wonder
good
if it's to
question.
like boost up morale, or if it's to really tell a story, or if it's to even maybe he grew a conscience and he's trying to help those, indie authors,
Yeah,
but that's the question. Why now?
yeah, yeah. It is. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell really who this documentary is for. Um, it's you know it's all about the history and the impact of the comics and all of that. But this, Max presenting this three-parter, like you said, now is weird. Not coincidentally, an intellectual property concern with films like Wonder Woman, Aquaman that are made by Max corporate sibling Warner Brothers. It's all very in the family. Superpowered coming in the midst of a year-long celebratory jag as Warner Brothers marks its 100th anniversary. So too superficial to satisfy core fans, but like automatically assumes viewer buy-in that it won't create any new converts. It's directed by Leslie Iwerks and Mark Catalina, and narrated by Rosario Dawson, which is weird, but cool. Um, and it follows the odd structure where a linear march through the history of the company, beginning in the 30s, is studded with promotional interviews for recent endeavors. Like we jump from footage of the campy late 1960s Batman TV show to an interview with Matt Reeves discussing the 2022 film, The Batman. And so it does seem a little bit self-serving back in the 60s. So Dawson intones over footage of the Vietnam War and civil rights era protests that, given national turmoil, the DC characters seem tone deaf at the time, and the spirit of tone deafness is kept alive by such transitions. The series sort of edges up to interesting concepts and nudging them and then skittering away. One comic artist, a throwback to a bygone era of, I would say, in of speaking in public, notes that he didn't like drawing superheroes because he said they're a little flamboyant for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said time to talk about how the Flash shared the optimism of the space age, and you had the television super producer Greg Barlanti of the series from Arrow to Batwoman, and um, he's an EP on this show, and executive producer on this show. He talks about being drawn to superheroes operating under aliases as a young gay man, learning to code switch, and we won't dwell here, but it's the first time any interview subject from the contemporary entertainment industry has gotten real and gotten, and speaking of which, one wouldn't expect the series to cover the recent travails of DC films in the box office. The bad, and of course it doesn't. They don't get into any. They don't talk any bad stuff about anything. It's not honest in that way. Um, and then you've got the interview with Zachary Levi, in which he says that this is part 2, but Shazam: Fury of the Gods was one of my favorite sets I've ever been on, and fails to, I don't know, but it's a very good point you make, because there's a lot that I noticed that I had made note of that I kind of wasn't really going to touch on, but I do think it's a little bit of a self-serving documentary. It definitely makes them look good.
Yeah, especially with all right, so I'm a huge DC fan, but with the spiral of the DC cinematic universe, I wonder if this is why they're trying to do not trying, but I wonder if they're doing this now to try to boost because something that I've also been learning
Mhm.
is the fact that a lot of reasons why they don't do movies like Green Lantern is because of copyright issues and because they only had one chance. And if Green Lantern, what's his name, John Stewart, like the Black Green Lantern, they may not be able to do it because it's entitled to somebody else. That's
Mm,
the same thing with Static Shock. So this goes into Black Heroes Club. This is why I love Black Heroes Club. So with Static Shock, I'm sorry, let me jump back with Super
no, you're
Friends. With
mhm,
Super Friends, they didn't do a Black Lightning because of copyright issues, but instead
mm,
they created the Black Vulcan, which had similar powers, but he was just a Black Vulcan. And in
right.
Static Shock, they did not mention Black Lightning, but instead they gave, they had soul power and they even did like homage to Hardware and Black Vulcan. But maybe they're bringing this out now to explain why they don't do other superhero movies. They may
Mm,
not own the rights, or they may
mm,
have to, do so much in order to make it work.
right.
That's the whole business side of it. That's behind the scenes business side. Hopefully, the rest of the documentary covers issues like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would be good. Because they do cover, they are getting into that kind of stuff, and like with the MCU and all of that, and the rivalry between DC and Marvel has been a constant source of debate and excitement, among fans. And I think we're gonna start getting some DC Marvel crossover projects and stuff like that, like they've done in the comics countless times. But historically, they were both major players in the comic book market, but their approaches and styles were very different, and both publishers, Marvel and DC, tried to gain as much of the readership and the market dominance as possible, and they competed to be the most creative company on the market. And the rivalry, I think, pushed both companies to constantly innovate and raise the bar in terms of storytelling and art. You're a DC guy. I'm more of a Marvel guy. My co-host Stu is definitely a DC guy. We got a lot of guests that are DC people. But it's cool. It's funny how like you're either a DC guy or a Marvel guy. And generally it's just based on the first one you started with. Nobody, I
Yeah.
don't think ever, it doesn't,
Yeah.
there's no like real reason. I don't think anybody ever fully knew all about both of them, made a conscious decision which one to choose. That's not how it works. So it's not, yeah, it's not personal. But definitely, one reason that we do this particular show on this show is because I wanted to learn more about DC. And I knew that doing this show, talking about it, I would learn so much about it. But speaking of the crossovers, like the two, the big competition between Marvel and DC led to some very cool crossover. The iconic Crisis on Infinite Earths,
Yeah.
Secret Wars, or the Marvel vs. DC joint. But the collaborations have not only been dope, but they've definitely helped showcase the history and mythology of both of the universes. They go deep into the lore, and they're just really good in that way. Um, in the modern era, the rivalry between DC and Marvel has taken on new dimensions with the exploration of the movies and TV productions and both companies are now competing for much bigger stakes, audiences, box offices, hundreds of millions of dollars, and all that, and continually releasing these new adaptations and expanding their respective cinematic universes. But it's important to note that many comic book fans, people working in both companies, love and enjoy both DC and Marvel and appreciate, the qualities and of whichever company they work for. And it's really important that I think fans are making these movies because you can always tell when it's not. Like with Star Wars,
Absolutely.
you can always tell when they don't care about the project. But
Absolutely.
go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, like that's my thing too about the projects where so Warner Brothers leans so heavy on the fact that using Batman and Superman as their anchors and their crutches
Mm,
to keep remaking the same thing over and over and over again. I love Heath Ledger as the Joker. The Dark Knight is one of my favorite hands down movies of all times. But bro, I don't need another Harley Quinn and Joker movie. I don't. I need a Martian Manhunter movie. I need a Black Lightning
yeah,
movie. I need a
John
like they did.
Stewart.
Oh, yeah. I need like they did. I didn't watch The Flash, but I heard so many horrible reviews. They're doing good on Blue Beetle, but bro, I
Yeah,
need more. I don't need another
yeah.
Superman movie. I don't.
Nah, I
And I
feel you,
think
bro.
like with what you said, it's like I don't think that if no one has ever asked for a remake of Batman.
Right,
Like never. Like no one's asked for that. So why
right.
do we keep remaking Batman? You
Yeah.
know, Wonder Woman did a great job, but I mean, even with Wonder Woman, we can do better.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
definitely agree, man. And I'm super excited that James Gunn is doing what he's doing right now, even though yeah, he is starting with a Superman movie. Um he's already got uh Green Lantern in there, he's got Hawk Girl in there, he's got who else? He's
Mr.
got a bunch of
Terrific.
Mr. Terrific, right? He's got a few different characters in there. So and yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are definitely my favorite MCU films and all of that. But he did so good with the DC stuff, with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker and all of that. And he's just really good at bringing obscure characters, which is kind of I think what you're talking about is bringing more of the unknown characters to the forefront. He's giving us a Jon Stewart show. He's giving us Swamp Thing. He's giving us Creature
Yeah,
Commandos and the Authority and all these cool obscure characters, dude. So I'm like super excited to see what he's gonna do because, like you said, bro, DC has always been about their big three, and it's like okay, like we get it, like Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, we know, but like there's
yeah.
more. There's so
There's
much
more.
more.
Hey, bro, but
Um,
with that being said, listen, I don't want to put you in a bad spot. Is it I gotta put the kids to bed and
no, you're good, bro.
yeah, yes, sir.
You're good.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
so
coming
much for
on, bro.
having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on, bro. I really appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, thank you for
Anytime.
having me. And with this
Always
exiting
welcome.
out, man, we gotta focus on, and I gotta do this too, focus on crediting artists and crediting our sources and crediting, who actually made these pieces, because I
Mm,
really feel like this documentary really hyped on that point about
yeah,
credit, credit, credit. So
definitely.
that's the last thing I want to say about it.
Definitely, bro.
But
I
it was nice meeting you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And like I said, you're always welcome, bro, anytime. And I'll see you on the gram.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
All right, peace.
Peace. That's the homie, the Black Heroes Club. Shout out to Dre from the Black Heroes Club, man. Uh, cool guest, cool dude. Definitely knowledgeable on DC and certain topics we talking about. So cool guy. We'll definitely have him back coming down the road. Speaking, we got a couple of things to cover real quick for the end of the joint. We had the Blue Beetle. We sort of mentioned. Blue Beetle is about to, I think, hit like 17 million domestic. According, well, when it opens. They have, their foreshadowing or whatever. DC's Blue Beetle is definitely going towards this unfortunate number, which I'm surprised, man. Like 17 million is sad, bro. Hopefully that these latest predictions are not accurate, but according to Box Office Pro, the movie, is tracking for the lowest opening weekend in DC Extended Universe history. And honestly, I think it's bullshit, because not bullshit as in not true, but bullshit as in that's just not fair, because the Blue Beetle is definitely going to be a cool movie, but I'm going to tell you why it's going to tank, because DC already told us it doesn't matter. They already told us, bro. They said all these next films that come out, Flash, Blue Beetle, Aquaman, doesn't matter. It's the past. It's the old universe. So no one cares. And a character like Blue Beetle that already is definitely not a big one. You're not giving them nothing, man. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that. I don't know what they expected. I do too, bro. I think Blue Beetle is going to be phenomenal. Looks really cool. But analysts also expect a domestic total of 27 million to 55 million for the domestic return, a number that places Blue Beetle on the low end of, DC's already rickety ladder. But again, I don't think, and it is possible that these numbers are wrong and Blue Beetle will open stronger than anticipated. And we've seen underdog films blow past predictions, and positive word of mouth could boost the film's performance. All to be seen. All remains to be seen. We don't know, and that would all be like, a chance deal. But I don't know. Blue Beetle looks dope. It stars Zolo Medurena as Jamie Reyes. He's the kid from Cobra Kai, the Cobra Kai show. A recent college grad who's coming back, home full of his aspirations for his future, only to find out that his home is not quite as he left it. And the official synopsis says, let's pull it up here. It says, as he searches to find his purpose in the world, fate intervenes when Jamie unexpectedly finds himself in possession of an ancient relic of alien biotechnology, the Scarab. When the Scarab suddenly chooses Jamie to be its symbiotic host, he is bestowed with an incredible suit of armor capable of extraordinary and unpredictable powers, forever changing his destiny as he becomes the superhero Blue Beetle. Again, not the most famous character, but really sounds cool. And I think as a part of a ongoing and loved universe, it would be a great part of that. But it's basically got to hold its own. It's got to carry itself. It's got to be like, this movie just has to be great by itself. No sort of backing it up as being part of DC's universe. None of that. So that's a tough road for any film, let alone a DC film, superhero film from the before times. Unfortunately for Blue Beetle, the SAG-AFTRA strike prevents the traditional sort of promotion cycle leading up to the film's release, and that's going to be a huge disadvantage. Without actors on hand to promote the film, and and DC refuses to push the movie to 2024, unlike Aquaman, which they are. So I don't know, man. I'm not sure who's in charge, but they are basically not giving Blue Beetle a chance. It's not going to even have a chance, guys, sadly. And speaking as someone excited to see Blue Beetle, I hope this movie is good and that people dig it, and they, sing its praises online and bring more people to see it, because fans could be the film's most significant ally when, while Hollywood is on strike right now. There's not going to be any sort of backup. So it's going to be up to us, fans of the film, of the character, of whatever, of DC, of whatever. We're going to have to speak up, because you already know how the vocal minority can change things. So Also, guys, right now going on is San Diego Comic-Con, as y'all know. Sadly, I'm way over here in Virginia, nowhere near it. Bit salty about that, but there's always New York. But no, a lot of cool shit going on. San Diego Comic-Con, a lot of updates, a lot of reveals. For someone who collects action figures and toys and things, wow, bro, they've shit that's and speaking of toys and action figures, I got to show y'all the new addition to the Bat family, to the Batman shelf. I got a shelf over there with nothing but Batmans. But this is the Knightfall Batman. Okay, I am so excited for this one, guys. So excited for this one. It's not the black suit. It's not even the dark gray and blue. Check this. So this is Hush. This is the I was super excited because I really wanted a gray and blue Batman. Every Batman on my shelf, and you can see it. See if I can. Right above my finger, right there. That whole shelf right there. There's about 10 Batman figures up there, and they're all black and gray, except for this one, Hush, and he's cool. But I missed that yellow logo on his chest, and it's still a bit dark. And then boom, we got Knightfall Batman. Much brighter blue, much lighter gray, and definitely a much brighter yellow. A yellow, I mean, that belt looks almost white in that light. But yeah, let me back it up here. It's much brighter yellow. Way cool. Super excited. Gray and blue Batman is now it's the different. Now it's the one. You know what I'm saying? That used to be the main, and then the black suit was different and cool. Now this is different and cool. Now the black suit's normal, and this is cool and different and nostalgic and dope. And I just love it. Also, it is Knightfall, which is the storyline where Bane comes in and breaks Batman's back, and it's also the joint where these ears are about twice as long on the covers of these comics. They're really cool. I really like the covers of Knightfall Batman. Had these super long ears that were just ridiculously long and would be stupid running around Gotham with 2-foot tall bat ears, but dude, it looks so cool on them covers. But they went with the Batman from inside. That's a good, yeah, great comparison. Brave and the Bold. It definitely does have that sort of vibe as well. I love the all white eyes. That's something that we miss in the movies very badly, guys. Live action Batman movies, guys, come on. The white eyes, it's part of it, bro. It's part of it. Pupils just, I don't know. But Comic-Con is here, guys. San Diego Comic-Con is going down. It's popping off right now. If you are over there, you are probably not watching this video, this live stream right now. You are probably having a big nerdgasm, running around, just blowing your own mind. But while this year's festivities are a bit less festive than the previous year's offerings on account of all the actors being on strike, nobody's there signing shit. It's a little bit lackluster in that department. But that doesn't mean that the true stars of the annual convention aren't out in force. And that's right. Trailers, new movies, reveals. Because who wants to hear an actor talk about their movies and shows when you could actually watch parts of it for yourself? Possibly with a pop song that is its tempo altered in some ironically inappropriate way playing over it. Here then are the hottest trailers from this year's Comic-Con, including appearances from The Walking Dead and all of that good stuff. We've got a big fat. Oh no, it just disappeared on me. What? There it is. Oh damn, hold on. All good. Yeah, it's been a bizarrely quiet Comic-Con Saturday today with not much going on, but none of the usual superhero hubbub that normally takes makes its make this one of the busiest pop culture news days of the year. But we have the Star Trek shit there. We've got Paramount Plus rolled out new footage for all three of the Star Trek shows. The upcoming final season for Star Trek Discovery got an extended tease showing off a sequence in which Michael Burnham ends up getting sucked into out into space after a confrontation gone wrong. Over in animation, you had Star Trek Lower Decks got a full trailer for its September premiering fourth season, showing the crew of the USS Cheeto, Cerritos, maybe possibly getting out of the lower decks at last. It also contained a reference to the show's bizarre and funny-looking crossover with New Strange Worlds, which was released earlier today, in which sees Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid play live-action versions of their animated characters. And speaking of Strange New Worlds, that is currently in the midst of a second season, but it got a trailer too, specifically for its upcoming musical episode, Subspace Rhapsody, which will see Anson Mount and the rest of the crew on the Enterprise apparently breaking into song. So not my thing, but hey, if you're into Star Trek, apparently it's all the rage. Surprisingly, and the one that I'm definitely into, and I really want to show you guys this teaser. I just don't want to get shut down by BoobTube, but I really want to show you this teaser. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Let me see. Tell you what. Let's try this. I'm going to talk about it because I want to show it. Norrin Rad, salute. What's good? What's good? And I want to talk about it, but I'm going to run it a little bit of like, on mute. And just sort of talk about it. So this is the new trailer for Invincible, guys. Invincible season 2. I'm fucking super excited, bro. Season 1 was so damn good. The comics are fucking phenomenal, and definitely this season is going to get way deeper into those comic stories, storylines, characters, all that cool shit that you don't know about unless you read the comics. And trust me, you're gonna love it if you like Invincible. I haven't read the entire run, but I've read a lot of it, and the stuff coming up for this season. You thought season 1 was brutal. Ooh, boy, let me tell you. Don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil nothing. Just watch the little trailer. We've got who we got? There's some names they throwing up there of actors, voice actors and stuff. These are very actually famous voice actors. I recognize some of these names from some really cool shows. And there we go. That guy is an old Viltrumite, and he's kind of upset that the Viltrumites are fighting amongst each other. But yeah, guys, November 3rd. Invincible. Where are my manners? All right. Did we make it? Yeah. Good deal. All right. But yeah, Amazon, surprisingly, dark blend of superhero action and comedy. We've got is finally almost back. Once again, following the life of would-be superhero Mark Grayson. Suffice it to say that things haven't gotten any easier for Mark now that, the big reveal at the end of the show's first season. Also, suffice it to say that Invincible still has one of the most amazing voice actor rosters in all of animation. And I'm not even just saying that because I love the show. They didn't just post those names on the screen. for no reason. How often do you see a list of the voice actors in the main promo? You don't. So that's an all-star cast right there, guys. Quality. With the new season adding big names like Paul F. Tompkins, Ray Seahorn, Google these, and getting pride of place cartoon legend Peter Cullen, who is, of course, best known for the longtime voice of Disney's saddest little donkey, Eeyore, and also Optimus Prime. So, in addition to the new teaser, Invincible also got a new release date, November 3rd, which is when the first half of the season will drop. And unfortunately, there will be a hiatus or whatever, a little break between the second half. And then the announcement that the brand new episode titled Invincible Adam Eve is available right now. So I am ready. I am more than ready, guys. And then The Walking Dead. I know they did. And you thought Michonne and Rick Grimes were done with Walking Dead? No. The whole franchise is spinning its wheels for some reason. We got that new Negan and the Widow got their own show right now called fucking Dark City. Dark City Walking Dead. Dope. It's all about New York City. They're in New York City during the zombie pandemic, we'll call it. So yeah, we never saw. Everything's been in like rural Georgia in this show. Or they did their spinoffs out west and stuff, but this is the first time we've ever been in a major city like New York and seen just what a zombie apocalypse looks like in a city like New York. We saw in Atlanta, no comparison. But yeah, we finally get confirmation that Denai Guerrera and Andrew Lincoln are actually returning for a 6-episode spinoff, and it's not a myth; it's real, and it can hurt you. Episode is released a brief teaser. AMC has released a brief teaser, for The Ones Who Live is what it's called at San Diego Comic-Con, with Michonne being understandably mad that Rick is alive after she mourned him all these years. It's crazy. What'll they do next? We'll find out next year. Because it's coming. It's coming back. We got and sticking with Walking Dead, and I'm surprised it's taken this long. Daryl Dixon's got his own show called Daryl Dixon. Walking Dead's resident badass goes tourist mode in the trailer for his latest spinoff series, which is set to premiere in September. It already got a season 2 renewal. What's that tell you? I don't know. The plot of the series kind of looks like a more religious take on The Last of Us. If that, as some French nuns conceive Daryl to transport a mysterious boy across the zombie-strewn French countryside. Yeah, he goes to Europe, the whole thing. And so, of course, some humans also try to get in the way because, you know, the zombies have never been the threat on The Walking Dead. It's always been other people. Zombies are more of an obstacle. Well, you know what I mean? People have always been the monster. Shout out to Toy Addict. What's good, big homie? But yeah, Amazon's adaptation of Robert Johnson's best story, Robert Johnson's series of best. How would I put this? It's called Wheel of Time, and it's pretty dope. It's coming back, bringing with it plenty more shots of young people looking very pretty, and Rosamund Pike looking very intense. The first season of Wheel of Time took a lot of flack for issues both inherited from its source material and of its very own. I actually had the whole Wheel of Time comic series. What the fuck is wrong with me today? The whole comic series. I sold the whole thing, but they were going for quite a bit each book. After this show, before this show, they were 50 cents at best in the trash bin. And then all of a sudden they blew up because of the show. It was pretty decent. And we'll note then in watching the Comic-Con trailer for its second season, the Great Hunt is considerably more exciting of a book than the first installment, The Eye of the World. At the very least, we're excited to see Joshua Stradowski's Rand al'Thor start coming into terms, with his big scary destiny when the show opens September 1st. Love to show you the trailer, but I don't know, man. Also, we of course got the Marvels. Oh boy, the Marvels. Here's the thing with the Marvels. I'm like looking forward to it. And I say that with disdain, with the most disdain. I'm so mad that I'm looking forward to it. Because that means that there's nothing else. That means that shit is so bad. The Marvels looks fucking dope right now. Okay. That's how bad it's been. But all jokes aside, the movie looks decent. Looks really good. I don't think that if this movie came out in like phase 2 or 3, anyone would have gave half a shit. But like I said, what else we got to compare it to or to satisfy us? This is it. Marvel, having largely ceded the territory of Comic-Con this year, kind of just shoved the trailer for its latest MCU movie out on the internet. Still, the Marvel certainly looks lively enough, building on an earlier teaser trailer to show off the basic premise, which sees Brie Larson, Tiana Paris, and Iman Vellani, superheroes, or at least superhero hopefuls, in the case of Kamala Khan, swapping places every time they use their superpowers. So that'll be interesting. The Marvels lands in theaters this November. And also, I know Kamala Khan was sort of kind of the first mutant in the MCU or whatever. They solidify that in this movie. In this movie, they go all in and talk about Kamala Khan literally having the gene, being a mutant, the full gamut. They're going all in. So this is how mutants are starting in the MCU, guys. Kamala Khan. So yeah, whatever. We'll see. Forget the MCU or any other film universe. The only one that matters right now, at least for fans of Kenneth Branagh, is his Agatha Christie one. Yes, The Death on the Nile. Was atrocious, to put it mildly. But Murder on the Orient Express had some promise. So maybe this upcoming Haunting in Venice will finally allow this sort of period piece to shine. The trailer surprisingly looks really fun and creepy. And the cast is fantastic. You've got Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh, Tina Fey's in there, Jamie Durant, Kelly Riley, Jude Hill, Emma Laird, and maybe third time's a charm. We'll see. But it looks decent. A haunting place. And then you got the Solar Opposites. Another animated show on Hulu, having recruited Dan Stevens, the guest himself, to replace co-creator and co-star Justin Roiland on the dope Rick and Morty. Hulu's Alien sitcom is coming back for its 4th season soon. The theme this time appears to be perfecting the Slorpian family, a process that seems to involve more than its fair share of bombs on buses. Also, we'll be checking back in on the hellscape of the Wall, where life is hard and miniaturized. But Solar Opposites returns to Hulu August 14th. Some of these I don't know. I'm gonna skim through some of these. Perpetrator, one of those Shudder campy sort of slasher films, is busting out. Interview with the Vampire, I do want to touch on for a second. New Claudia dropped. The teaser trailer for the second season of AMC's Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire has a lot of lurid material for fans to sink their teeth into. But it also offers the first real look at Delaney Hales as the new performer for Claudia, the child vamp companion to Jacob Anderson's Louis, who I think is killing it. I wasn't I'm a big okay, this is weird. Like I do like Anne Rice and I do like the Vampire Chronicles. Some of those books are phenomenal. And I mean the books. The movies have not been. It's like Stephen King movies. Well, some Stephen King movies are phenomenal, but for the most part, the movies do not hold up to the books. And this show was like, I don't know, it just really had just really a big LGBT sort of agenda that it was just every other scene was just like, oh, okay, it's like, okay, I get it. Like, okay, like it's borderline offensive to LGBT people. Okay. Not to me. It doesn't offend me. It offends people of that community. They're clearly being exploited. But I digress. I don't want to get too deep on that. We've got Migration, which is one of those, what do you call them? CGI duck movies, whatever. Killing It. Killing It is the name. Is Killing It season 2. It's a Peacock joint. Peacock is another streaming service. And it's Craig Robinson. If you're into Craig Robinson, it's Florida, set in Florida, that kind of goofiness and craziness. And I can say that because I grew up in Florida, so it's crazy as shit down there. One Piece. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. One Piece, guys. Listen. Yo, shout out. What's good, Jimmy? Salute. What's happening over in Germany, my friend? What's going down? Vader's Taters, what's good? Oh, that's what's up, bro. That's what's up. If you what? Oh, the North Carolina one. You're not in San Diego, right. Yeah, guy. We want footage, okay? But yeah, One Piece. We got the trailer for One Piece, the live action. I don't know why they keep doing this, okay? Anime should stay fucking animated. Like Dragon Ball Z, that live action shit, that was goddamn atrocious. Death Note, Tokyo Ghoul. I can't think of one that I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like this just holds up. This is just like the anime. They don't come across. They don't come across for a lot of reasons that I won't really get into, having to do with. I'm not going to get into it. There's a lot of reasons it doesn't work in live action. I doubt One Piece. I doubt this is going to be any different. Trailer. I'm not a One Piece fan for one thing, and I'm not bashing One Piece. Got no problem with it. It's got some cool stuff. I think it's really cool, but it's got like 1,000 episodes, so it's too much to tackle. I can't get into One Piece. I'm not even going to start. So I don't know enough about it to say, but I just know that animes and live action historically, as of recently, have been ass, in my opinion. And I love these animes. I just don't like the live action versions of them. Adventure Time, super fucking excited. Adventure Time was the shit. Super creative. Adventure Time was a great show, and maybe if you never watched it, it was really cool. It just reminded me of like when I was a little kid and I would run around, the woods out back or something like that, like the shit you would imagine. Like that's what the show basically is. But they've got this new show because we know. And a very deep show too. It got deep and sad, and like the way it ended was like not super happy-go-lucky. Like it was deep. But now there's a spin-off comeback that is called Fiona and Cake. I can't say that I'm like confident that this is going to be as good, but if it's as good, I mean, I know it's not going to be better. Like, come on. But if it's even as good as Adventure Time, cool. It's a funny spinoff. They're not only gender swapping, but they're species swapping the dog into a cat. So Finn is now Fiona, and the dog Jake is now Cake the cat. It has all the hallmarks of the classic Adventure Time so far. Beautiful animation, lovely music, and a general willingness to throw some very weird shit up on the screen for kids to consume. As for the plot, looks to be a multiversal type adventure where they kind of like went into this other reality where Finn is Fiona and Jake is Cake. And they'll be like running through multiple dimensions, a la Loki type shit, while being chased by an unknown enemy that we'll learn about. So, just for fans of Adventure Time, Harley Quinn season 4. More sex, more drama, more over the top shenanigans, and if you liked season 1 through 3, you'll like season 4. Not much to go in. The Monkey King animated comedy. Hopefully, it's going to be the next big thing. Based on Chinese mythology, looks fucking dope. Film follows the title monkey, the Monkey King, voiced by Jamie Yang, who goes on an epic quest to defeat 100 demons and an eccentric dragon king. Very Chinese mythology, very cool. I'm totally into this one. Decent voice cast involved. I think that was it. That was pretty much the biggest. Yeah, those were pretty much the biggest trailers that I saw come from SDCC. What else? Yeah, no, that was them. That was them. But yeah, man. We have. Oh yeah, you know about it. Yeah, that's dope shit. Good shit. What are we doing? All right. So, I think that's it. Yeah, guys, that is it. That is our show. It is 8:45. We have been rocking for an hour and a half. We had a cool guest on today from the Black Heroes Club. Dre, he will be back at some point eventually, and we'll have back to our regular programming with Stu Dog on Monday. Y'all already know what it is. Monday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sixth Element of Hip Hop. We always here for you, baby. Come check us out. So other than that, y'all already know what it is. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm gonna finish this B and go finish that documentary. Peace.